don't want to hear is ridiculous statements like that, okay? Caitlin Clark is the reason why the WNBA and the NCAA women's basketball tournament got its highest ratings of all time.
The WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there.
Caitlin Clark did something no WNBA player had ever done before. She got named Time Athlete of the Year. It's not just a personal win for her, but a huge moment for the entire league. Fans, players, and analysts all saw it as a big deal, almost like a turning point for women's basketball. It's funny how life works sometimes. What should have been a standing ovation moment turned into an unexpected mess. Instead of high fives and cheers, Caitlin Clark's big achievement rubbed some people the wrong way. And get this, the noise didn't just come from the outside. Even folks within the WNBA threw in their 2 cents, making things messier than they needed to be. It's like celebrating a goal, only to find half your own team isn't happy about it. Weird, right? So here's what happened. Sheila Johnson, co-owner of the Washington Mystics, decided to stir the pot in a CNN interview. She questioned Clark getting the Time Athlete of the Year award, saying the honor should have been for the entire WNBA instead of just one player.
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest.
Her logic? Celebrating Clark alone could leave others feeling ignored or left out. But Johnson didn't stop there. She brought up the topic of racial dynamics, arguing that equally talented players of color haven't been given the spotlight they deserve, unlike Clark.
If you didn't see him, she essentially said, or she didn't essentially say, she said, why can't you put the whole WNBA on the cover, not Caitlin Clark? Still. And I'll borrow a term from the political sphere. We have Clark derangement syndrome in our society now.
Her comments didn't sit well with people. Analysts wasted no time breaking it down and pointing out the flaws in her argument. Instead of focusing on Clark's achievement, a massive win for the league, Johnson's take came off as tone-deaf and ended up sparking a bigger debate. Now the real questions are, did she have a point or did she completely miss the mark? Why did her comments hit such a nerve? And how did Caitlin Clark, the one at the center of it all, handle this? One analyst didn't hold back, calling Johnson's remarks completely off the mark. They made a clear point. Look, this is sports. We honor individual brilliance for a reason. MVPs, Rookie of the Year, or iconic awards like Time Athlete of the Year. If we start handing out trophies to everyone, the whole point of these awards just disappears. Another analyst took it a step further, saying Johnson's words did more harm than good. Clark has spent her entire career trying to push back against the jealousy narrative. In her Time interview, she emphasized how much mutual respect exists among her peers. But Johnson's comments? Well, they just added fuel to a fire that Clark has been working so hard to put out. And naturally, the sports world wasn't quiet about it. For them, this wasn't just a misstep. It was a step in the wrong direction. Sheila Johnson's comments didn't just raise eyebrows. They triggered some serious pushback. One commentator outright called her take insulting, saying, "Caitlin Clark isn't just famous for nothing. She's changing the game, plain and simple. She's pulling off deep shots from 30 feet, shattering records and bringing in millions of viewers. That's not luck, that's pure skill." Other critics pointed out that Johnson completely ignored Clark's actual impact on the WNBA. She's not just showing up, she's packing stadiums, skyrocketing TV ratings, and turning heads everywhere she goes. Most of the analysts were pretty clear. Johnson's comments missed the mark. They didn't reflect reality, and worse, they downplayed Clark's contributions. As one put it perfectly, Clark isn't the problem here, she's the solution. Fans took to social media with full force, and they came out swinging. Narrating hard facts and praising Caitlin's performance, people made it crystal clear that they weren't buying Johnson's argument. One user jokingly said, "Why stop at this? Let's cancel MVPs, Rookie of the Year, and championships too. Give everyone a gold star just for showing up." It was the kind of humor that hits the mark when something just doesn't add up. But it wasn't all jokes. Some fans couldn't hide their frustration at how quiet the WNBA itself had been. "Not one person from the league has stood up for Caitlyn," one user pointed out, and then they wonder why people think there's jealousy here. It was a loud reminder that sometimes silence says more than words. And then there were the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark's games have been like a golden ticket for the league. The Washington Mystics had to move their fever matchups to bigger arenas because the demand was off the charts. While their usual games drew 5,000 fans, the ones featuring Clark brought in a jaw-dropping 20,000. Think about that. 4 times the normal crowd, something which Mystics completely missed while showing her bigotry against Clark. The TV ratings tell the same story. Clark's regular season games consistently smashed records, pulling over 1 million viewers 19 times. Meanwhile, the playoffs, yes, the playoffs, without her only hit that mark 6 times. That's not luck. That's impact. Even players like LA Sparks' Lexi Brown jumped in to call Johnson out. "Moving games to bigger arenas because of Clark is crazy. Can we stop going backwards?" she wrote, clearly frustrated that such a big win was being turned into a debate. Brown didn't mince words. She called Johnson's take unserious and pointed out how negativity overshadowed what should have been a moment to celebrate. At the heart of all this, though, is what Clark represents. Her success is bigger than her stats or awards. She's proof that women's basketball has entered a new era. Bigger crowds, better viewership, and growing buzz. She's not just making headlines for herself, she's bringing the entire league into the spotlight. So maybe instead of picking apart her achievements, it's time to recognize them for what they are, a win for everyone. Caitlin Clark may have the spotlight on her, but it's her actions that really speak louder than the headlines. Beyond her game-breaking performances, it's the humility, generosity, and leadership that set her apart and show why she's a role model in women's basketball. Let's take one moment that really says it all. When ESPN approached her for a series solely about her college career, Clark didn't let the spotlight blind her. She outright refused, unless other players were brought into the story too. Because of her insistence, Camila Cardoso and Kiki Rice got the recognition they deserved. That's not something every athlete would do. But for Clark, uplifting her peers isn't an act, it's who she is. And then there's the WNBA season itself. While teams were raking in huge ticket sales from Clark's games, she didn't sit back and bask in the profit. Instead, she made a remarkable suggestion, advocating for spot bonuses for players on opposing teams whose ticket sales benefited from her massive draw. This wasn't just a small gesture. It sent a powerful message about fairness and community, making fans call her the real deal with good reason. The irony here? While Sheila Johnson argued that individual recognition creates hard feelings, Clark's own actions proved the opposite. She actively works to lift others, celebrate her peers, and bring attention to everyone around her. So where Johnson saw division, Clark has been building unity from day one. Of course, Clark's leadership off the court is matched by her insane work ethic on it. Most rookies would take time to adjust after an exhausting college season, but not Clark. She jumped into the WNBA with full energy, logging heavy minutes without a single complaint. In her own words, "I'm lucky to do what I love." Here's the thing. Her impact isn't just about how she plays, it's about how she uses her platform. She doesn't just highlight her own achievements. Clark consistently gives credit to her teammates, acknowledges rivals, and praises her peers' successes. This approach has made her not only relatable, but also one of the most respected figures in the league. So when Johnson's comments tried to stir the pot, fans weren't having it. Clark's actions already answered every criticism. Where some people saw controversy, her fans saw proof of what's right about the WNBA. Clark's success isn't tearing anyone down, it's raising everyone up. And this brings us to the real issue. Sheila Johnson's words didn't just target Caitlin Clark, they highlighted a bigger problem within the WNBA itself. Fans couldn't help but notice the league's silence. When Clark faced backlash, nobody from the WNBA publicly defended her. One fan hit the nail on the head, tweeting, "Not one person from that league has come to her defense," and they wonder why her fan base thinks there's jealousy. The truth is, Clark's success should have been a unifying moment, a chance for the league to celebrate progress and momentum. Instead, Johnson's remarks distracted from that and shone a light on a deeper issue. The WNBA's struggle to rally behind its individual stars. One commentator said it best, "How hard is it just to say congratulations and move on?" It's a simple point, but one that highlights how much the league needs to learn. Right now, women's basketball is at a tipping point. Clark's stardom has brought massive crowds, record-breaking TV ratings, and global attention to the sport. Rising stars like her don't just boost their own success, they lift the entire league with them. The WNBA needs to embrace that, not question it. For the league to keep growing, its leaders need to prioritize unity and celebrate achievements that bring positive attention to the game. Division, jealousy, or misaligned priorities? That's what holds progress back. Clark, on the other hand, has already shown what it means to lead. She's setting new standards, not just in her game, but in how she carries herself. She's a teammate, a competitor, and most importantly, someone who uses her success to bring others with her. That's the kind of leadership the WNBA needs if it wants to break into the mainstream and gain the respect it truly deserves. The ball is in the league's court now. Caitlin Clark is already paving the way forward, leading by example and showing that the future of women's basketball is brighter than ever. The real question is, will the WNBA step up and follow her lead?